But you know what doesn't get hit with tariffs? Existing home sales or existing homes. They already are built. They already have the lumber, the copper, all of those things. So one of the things that comes around, at least in my world for real estate investing, is real estate, a house, an apartment building, a fourplex is nothing more than a collection of raw material. And if that collection of raw material suddenly jumps 15%, existing homes that are nothing more than a collection of these things will be worth more. Folks, have you thought about tariffs? You have. It's all over the news. But did you know that tariffs actually help one segment of the economy? Yes, folks. Unfortunately, tariffs make landlords rich. That's what Dion told me this morning. So, Dion, help us understand how tariffs make landlords rich.
I do sometimes like to posit a theory and watch people think, I never thought of that. Maybe a little bit of a contrarian view. So I'll just take a small example of our friend Millennial Mike. He invests in Gary, Indiana, because the steel manufacturers moved out, city fell apart. There's abandoned houses everywhere. He buys them. He spends money, $20,000 to $40,000 to buy a house, spends $20,000 to $40,000 fixing it up, gets over $1,000 a month in rent. So he's into it less than $100,000. He's way over the 1% rule. It's 45 minutes from Chicago. Remote work kind of kicks in. Section 8 is an option. So he's doing really well. He knows what he's doing. But then people go, let's make it harder to use slave labor in another country, which is what keeps prices down. Sweatshops, no labor laws. So people are okay with slave labor. And they say, as long as my car comes from Mexico or this other country where they don't pay somebody a livable wage, and they bring it into the U.S., and I can get it at an affordable price, I don't care about the ethics of it. And somebody says, well, let's put a tariff on steel, and let's put a tariff on vehicles. Now, Biden had 100% tariffs on EVs. They wanted, we want this green deal, but we want the green cars to be made in the U.S., so most of the Teslas were made in the U.S. So before the most recent stuff, Tesla was the hero of the EV world because they were U.S. made. They didn't get hit by the tariffs. You can actually afford them easier than the imported EVs. Well, what's going to happen to Millennial Mike's portfolio if Honda announced we're moving production from Mexico to Indiana? Not real close to Gary, but it's in Indiana. What if steel manufacturing returns to Indiana? Like, there's a lot of what ifs here, the possible outcomes. So that's like a very targeted, specific thing. But just think of the real kindergarten basics of it. People say we want the cheaper products from overseas, and then we can add the element of we want illegal aliens to work these jobs in the U.S. that nobody would work. So we're deporting them. We're going to lose our labor force. So we might have to actually pay a livable wage for somebody to go work in a field, which means more income. And what happened in 2020, 2021, 22 is we had the stimulus ballers getting stimulus, unemployment, extended unemployment, IEDL, whatever loans, whatever they was, PPP loans, all this helicopter money, which meant rents went up about 40% in 2022. So when you see a massive increase in income, whatever you agree, whether you think like tariffs or you like the left or the right side, whichever side you're on, the ultimate impact is more U.S. citizens will have jobs that pay more. Things will cost more. So it's kind of a net balance or maybe even a loss. But what happens to rents, especially on properties you already own?
Yeah, I think there's actually one more thing that I think most people are going to miss. And I'm sure Matt is caught on to this one. One of the things that when you look at existing home sales versus new homes, right? The input for new homes are going to be dramatically impacted by tariffs, right? Some estimates are 10 to 15% higher should these tariffs stick. But you know what doesn't get hit with tariffs? Existing home sales or existing homes. They already are built. They already have the lumber, the copper, all of those things. So one of the things that comes around, at least in my world for real estate investing, is real estate, a house, an apartment building, a fourplex is nothing more than a collection of raw material. And if that collection of raw material suddenly jumps 15%, existing homes that are nothing more than a collection of these things will be worth more. What do you think? What do you think of that, Matt? What do you think tariffs could, dramatically increase the price of existing homes?
It takes build to rent off the table.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
Now you're remodeling. You're remodeling the rent.
Right. It takes build to rent off the table. And yeah, of course, then it increased the value of the asset that's already done. And the best part is, to build in our area, I was looking at some stuff that is in the process of being built, and it's being done at about $415 to $440 a foot.
Wow.
And you look at it.
What was it 3 years ago?
Before COVID?
Yeah.
Like 250.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
250. Wow. Yep. Like about 250 a foot. But when I buy a typical home, or one of my multifamilies, usually I was looking at $1.25, $150 a foot. Significant advantage. And I can rehab it, and I can rehab it at $50 a foot or $75 a foot. I'm still coming in half what the new stuff is, and I'm just as nice. And usually I'm in a better location.
Yeah. It's funny how the older stuff is, generally speaking, in a better location, because the new stuff has to go farther and farther out.
It does. And it's in the land that was never developed. Why was it never developed? Because there was better land available to build.
Better options. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Dion, I think you're on to the big thing for landlords is, and I think Scott Bessent said it, or was quoted as saying it, basically, Wall Street, AKA the rich, has had an unfair advantage for the last 40 years. It's now time for the middle class, kind of get theirs, or the bottom 50%. And, should we reorder world trade? Should we bring manufacturing back? Should we reinvigorate steel mills and aluminum and all of those things? You're absolutely right. Wages are going to go up for a lot of folks. And we have already seen what happens when wages go up for a lot of folks is rents will follow. So talk about that some more.
Well, one of the dumbest things I've heard in the last decade was from Bill Maher.
Yeah.
Now, I really like that he kind of stays in the middle. He leans left. He leans old school left, more 1980s liberal than current liberal. He calls out both sides for their stuff. So I watch him because he'll have that debate with somebody, like him or not, and he'll give the other person a voice. But he actually said the dumbest thing I've heard in 10 years.
Oh, no.
He said, this is probably 2 weeks ago, why would we want to bring manufacturing back? Who wants to do those jobs? Those were the words that came out of his mouth. He might have said that who wants to do those jobs differently, but that was my takeaway. But he actually said, why would we bring manufacturing back? Not understanding how many people could benefit from a job like that. Yeah, we've got the majority of college attendees are female. The colleges aren't designed to get you a job in the trades, but who's making six figures right out of welding school, right out of a truck driving school job with a local job? Like all of those trade skills that can equal a six-figure job when the average income is 60,000, not six figures. This is a massive increase. Now, is Bill Maher going to go out and work in a trade? No, of course not. Is anybody that Bill hangs out with going to do that? No. But how about the 300 million other people who could benefit from a job that pays more than what they're making because we bring manufacturing back to the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to think about this because, well, let's just have this discussion. Let's talk about Apple iPhones, right? Let's just have this discussion, right? There, I forget who said it. Somebody said, let's get Apple to bring iPhone manufacturing back to the United States. I talked about it today on the Daily Financial News. I think, Dion, you were on for that. The reality is, just the reality, if we want Apple to make iPhones in the United States, a couple of things have to happen first. One, you have to build the manufacturing plants. I have heard estimates of between $20 and $30 billion to create said plants. And, oh, by the way, it'll take 3 or 4 years. But second, the reality of this situation is it's going to be a hell of a lot robotic. There's not going to be people sitting over iPhones screwing in baby screws, right? That's not what will show up in the United States. It will undoubtedly have a lot of high-paying jobs, right? People working on repairing robots and maintenance, and it will have a lot of high-paying jobs, but not a lot of bodies. right? I don't know what the sweatshops in China have, but I'm going to assume for every 1,000 people over there, we would have 50 here, 100 here.
That's probably right.
And lastly, an iPhone produced in America will cost north of $3,000, not $1,000. And I'm all for it. If that's where we want to go, let's go. I'll upgrade my iPhone every 10 years instead of every 5 years. It's okay. I'm not opposed to this. I'm just saying those are realities of the world. And if we want to go that direction of a country, let's go. But let's not forget, it's not apples to apples, right? We're not going to employ the same amount of people. We're not going to have them do the same amount of manual labor. That's the reality of it, Dion.
So 2 things. First, I love how people are okay with lower prices as long as it was slaves that made it.
Correct.
You use the term sweatshop, right? That's what's happening now. We got people in unbelievable conditions making the things, and people are like, it's fine as long as it's cheap, right? But here's the cool thing.
Nothing we would tolerate here. Absolutely correct.
Right. Nothing should be tolerated where it's happening either. So here's the really cool thing. Let's say iPhones cost $1,000 right now. So I just upgraded the 16 Pro Max, basically with the whatever terabyte it was like $1,800 or something.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted a lot of data, a lot of storage. If it was $6,000, I still would have done it. It doesn't matter. And it's not because I have money and I don't care. It's because they don't go, write us a check for $1,800 and you get a phone. They go, here's the 2 or the 3 or the 5 year program where we add $5 a month because you're trading in your last phone to get this new phone. So most of us will look at $5 or $10 or $30 a month to get the new upgraded device, whether it's Apple or what's the poor person phone, Matt? You have one.
Android.
Google.
Android.
Most,
that's right.
The most largely deployed one in the world. That one, yeah.
Right. The quickest blocked one on all the dating apps one. Yeah. So you have Android, Apple.
I don't need that one, Dion. I don't need the dating apps where it's blocked. I'm good.
So, and ironically, the Android phones are better. They always have a better sound, better camera, everything. So I'll absolutely be the first one to admit that. It's just funny how it works. It's the way they're sold and the way they're marketed.
Sure.
As a country, we wouldn't notice that it went 300% the price.
Yeah, this is a worthwhile conversation. And again, I certainly have been a long proponent of the middle class being hollowed out. But let's also have this discussion. When people say the middle class is disappearing, that's actually misleading. And I think we've had this discussion before. There are a lot of people. Yes, the middle class is smaller today than it was historically. That is factually correct. But what often goes unsaid is the upper middle class and the wealthy is much larger than it was before. Right. Correct. So these are things that when you look at the system that we had chosen to adopt, which, oh, by the way, is completely in flux now, right? We could be changing the world order in real time. This could be literally building an airplane while flying. That it could be that. But it's not to say that we shouldn't use resources that are cheaper elsewhere. Where I find the greatest problem with international trade is protectionism, right? I think Canada, for example, has something to do with milk. They don't like the way in the US we do something with our milk to make it, I don't know, look whiter or whatever it is. So they put crazy high tariffs on milk. Australia had done something on beef because of some, mad cow from Canada one time earlier. I think there are countries that don't play fair, China being the biggest example of this, clearly.
Sure.
That really needs to be discussed. And if this is the way we get to those discussions, by all means, let's go. Let's get into the kerfuffle and, let's see what happens. So I'm all down for fairer worldwide trade, but I'm not sitting here as an economist saying the United States should make everything. That doesn't make logical sense.
No.
I do think we have some national security issues, and I've said this for a long time. We got to bring pharmaceuticals back. So we should have a monster tariff on pharmaceuticals. We cannot rely on partners for steel and aluminum and things that make ships in planes should there be the need for that. There are absolutely national security concerns where we should be more protected, and we aren't. But I don't think we should make everything.
Absolutely, we should absolutely not make everything. But we also, I love how Dion put it, because that is one of the often arguments that I have with people who need their cheap goods.
Yeah.
Is that they're the first ones to bitch and complain about how expensive something got, but they have no problem with a 6-year-old working 14 hours a day in some sweatshop. And they're like, oh no, that's absolutely wrong. Dude, who do you think made what you have in your hand, you dolt? Like, let's just do a little bit of effort. Let's just a little bit. The problem that I have with all that stuff becoming done stateside, the problem that we're going to have is that people already suck at managing their own money. 69% of people live in paycheck to paycheck. When they get that $3,000 phone, sure, it's just going to be a bigger payment, just like their $300 car payment went to a $700 car payment. And the problem is that it's not like more people are educating themselves about finances and how to actually get out of the hole. They just sit there and they just do what they want to do. I watch a lot of YouTube of people that get consulting at a younger age, in their 20s, in their early 30s. They are dumpster fires. Most of them don't pay their taxes. Most of them have no idea how to file taxes. It is unbelievable. And so what really needs to happen is there needs to be a better path for people to understand, because there's plenty of college graduates that are complete financial and fiscal morons. They have no idea how to just manage their day-to-day life. So the idea that anything valuable can happen in 60 days, that wasn't any of our expectations. Are you mad you voted for Trump, bro? No, I'm not, because no one else was willing to take and do what he's done, to rip the Band-Aid off and go, hey, listen, I know everybody else has talked about it, and I know that it's untenable, but guys, it's really untenable. We're going to have to do something about this. And it's all of these very awful, painful, nasty things that you have to do. If everybody could just say, I want to lose 20 pounds by morning, everybody would do it, but very few are willing to do all the things that it takes to get there. He's just ripping all the Band-Aids off and doing the things that it takes to get there. So, if that's what's getting you going and it gets you all upset, don't worry, just sit back like you've done with the rest of your life and it'll get fixed for you. And the problem is that you're not going to be part of the wealth transfer, bro. And that's your own fault.
Yeah. Dion, what do you think of all that?
So I always keep this image around on the middle class shrinking, right? Went from 25% were considered poor in 1971. Now it's 29%. So that went up a percentage of 4%, right?
Right.
But it was 14% were wealthy. Now it's 21%. So a 50% increase in the number of wealthy people. And the problem is, with whatever tariffs make things cost more, make people earn more, we're going to have almost the same equation, because what makes people poor, middle class, or wealthy isn't how much money they have or how much money they make. It's what they think the purpose of money is. Right? Exactly. And the poor people think money is for stuff. If I want more stuff, I got to work more. The middle class people think that money is used for leverage, the big house, the nice car, look flat, flashy, get the things before I've earned the money to buy it on leverage. And the wealthy understand that money is used to make money. And maybe that 14 to 21% increase in the wealthy could become from things like YouTube University.
Sure.
Podcasts, audiobooks, all the ways that people are sharing. Here's what you can do with money. And it might not be that investing strategy, but just the concept of money can make money. I don't have to sell my life 1 hour at a time. And I would hope we'd see that continue to grow in that direction. But there will always be people who want to tax the rich. So they hate the rich, so they'll never want to become the rich. Tax the rich becomes tax the middle class. And keeping up with the Joneses with that, the big, huge car, the big cars with $1,000 a month payments. I have a tenant who sold one of his trucks because it had $1,000 a month payment or so. And he bought an Alfa Romero with $1,000 a month payment or so because it gets better gas mileage. That was his idea to save money. And I'm like, you're going to be a great tenant. You're going to live there forever.
That is wild. That is wild. So folks, at the end of the day, we are going through something. Of course, this could be resolved tomorrow with one tweet, but I think we've seen that President Trump wants to go down this path. It's going to take weeks, months, and maybe quarters to resolve. So buckle up. It is going to be bumpy, but at the end of the day, landlords win. Landlords win again. You own an asset that's a collection of goods. You have higher interest rates because of inflation. You have rent growth because lack of building. It's a pretty easy formula. Get a buy box. Look every day. Folks, Dion, where can they find you?
Right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where I, in the next few months, don't know which countries I'll be in. I'm just not going to be in this one very much.
I love it. I love it. And Matt?
Lumberjack Landlord, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time, where we go for about 90 minutes. I just answer your questions. If you're a new investor, a seasoned investor, and have encountered a problem that you've not seen before, I probably have seen it, and I can probably help you out. So come hang out with us.
Folks, do us a favor. Join these guys on their live streams. They are true go-givers. Dion's actually going to be doing his live streams at like 1 a.m. or something nonsense. So make sure you tune in and see what's going on. That's 1 a.m. his time. It'll still be at his defined time.
Yes.
Right.
Because he's just that kind of guy. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Mike.